So today I have a little bit of a variety for you. I have the giveaway winners from the last time. I have my normal FO's WiPs. I have a few acquisitions this time, and I say normal, mine's never really normal, they're just me. And then I have a test knit. So I have been talking about the shawl design that I have been working on. So there's a test knit call and I'll go through the options. So this is the Angela Makes podcast. I am Angela and I bring you this podcast from just outside Belfast in Northern Ireland. This is episode 17 and hello if you're new, and if you're returning, thank you so much for coming back and I hope you're well. So, as I said, this is going to be a little bit different. I am going to start with the test knit call and go through the options and the pattern. I have, I'll put the form below and I'm also going to post it on Instagram. But I'll go through all of the details of that in a second. So I think if I go through each of the options, so there's a shawl, there's a cowl-ette as I've named it, and there's a sock, because I love the pattern so much, and the more I looked at it I thought that would be really nice on a pair of socks, so there's a sock added to the mix. The shawl I have shown you before. So this is the shawl that I did in DK. It took just under 200 grams, but through the pattern, if you want to, I suggest where you should weigh your yarn so that you're getting the most out of it. So that you're basically using every little bit and getting this as long as you want it. Equally, if you want it shorter, it's your pattern to play with essentially. I think of this more as a recipe and that you can make it work as in how you wish. So this one, I'm going to check my notes because yeah, there's now quite a few options. This shawl for me in the DK ended up at 74 inches tip to tip and 10 inches in depth, which is about 186 centimetres and about 26 centimetres in depth, and I used 180 grams for this one. I probably could have added a couple of extra bits in the middle. So what I do, it's the same rate of increase the whole way, so I don't change the rate of increase, although I have said that this is a crescent shaped. If you didn't do the straight bit in the middle, you would end up with a triangular shaped shawl. So that's entirely up to you as well. You could keep increasing till you get halfway through your wool and then decrease until the end. I would always recommend leaving a couple of grams extra for the decreases. I don't know why, but that always works for me. I think just with the decreasing stitches and I don't know, does your tension become that little bit looser in the second half? Not sure, but I always need a little bit extra in the decreases. So you increase up to a point and then you can go straight, which gives you more of a crescent shape. It gives you that straighter bit in the middle, and then start your decreases. So that's the DK version. I have finished my 4-ply version. So this is one of my WiPs. It has not been blocked yet, but this is the loom yarn. Isn't that beautiful? So this is exactly the same pattern. I have used 100 grams of the loom yarn, which was had cashmere silk in it. This was the Harvest Bloom colour in the loom yarn. This was the one that I got at Big Flock in Bristol. So I'll show you again. I just love the colours in this, and there's a wee pop of like mustard every now and again, and it's just beautiful. This is so soft. Okay, so this particular one is about 68 inches long, So a little bit shorter than the DK, but I think when I block this, it's going to be as long. 9 inches in depth, so again, not a huge bit different. And that is about 173 centimetres to 23 centimetres, roughly. And as I say, this was 100 grams, was 400 metres. When I weighed it at the start, I had about 108 grams. So once I've finished, I've used about 102. But as I've said, through the pattern, I've said if you weigh it here and if you weigh it here. So although I've used 102, if you weigh it, you will end up with whatever you have. Also, some 4-ply is 425 metres rather than 400. So again, depending on the yarn that you have, you can play with this. This one again, now this one I did more straight to give me, so I do have a straight section in this one as well, just to give me that little bit where it is on my neck, and that it is straight and not, that it is straighter and not coming into a point. So yeah, I have the straight section in the middle of this one as well, which you can just see there. I still have my markers in. I'm not sure if you can see them, but they're the 2 markers. There's one in the middle there as well. And these markers are essentially the straight section. So I have increased up to there, and then straight section, and then decreased on the way back down again. As I'd mentioned before, what I wanted from this design was a 3-stitch I-cord on either side, that it was reversible, so it's the same on the front and on the back, and that it looked good whether it was a plainer yarn or a busy yarn. I think my preference is my loom, but I like both and I will absolutely wear both. But this yarn is divine. I will definitely treat myself to more of this in the future. But so that's the shawl. So you have a DK version and a 4-ply version. You will need 200 grams of the DK. You could use 2 different colours and do it 2 rows the whole way along, or half and half if that's what you wanted. So you could stash dive, or 100 grams of 4-ply, or you could have 200 grams of 4-ply and hold it double, is your other option. So it doesn't really matter, to be fair, on the weight of the yarn, because if you follow the pattern and follow the increases, you will end up with a shawl of a particular length. Obviously, the heavier yarn that you use, the shorter it is going to be if you don't have enough of that yarn. So if you're going up into Aran or Chunky, if you want something really cozy, you would need a good bit more of that. But if you had 2 skeins of 4-ply, you could potentially make this a lot deeper in the middle and have a really long shawl to wrap around. So yeah, absolutely you can play with this. So that's the shawl. DK or 4-ply is your choice within the test knit. Then I had shown you the coilette. So mine I had done in 2 different colours. I've gone over the colours previously, but this is a Giddy yarn Poo Sticks, and this is an old Giddy Ant yarn, and it's their Narnia colourway, and it's Courage Dear Heart. This one you knit flat and seam, and you can literally just pull it over your head and let it keep you warm. So this particular one I used 100 grams of the Poo Stick, so I've used all of it up, and I used 54 of the Courage Dear Heart. Now, I think actually when I look at it on me, I should have brought the Courage Dear Heart a little bit more down, but I'm more than happy with this because I love Winnie the Pooh. So I love this yarn, absolutely love it. The circumference around the neck is 24 inches, so about 60 centimeters. Now, if you wanted this a little bit tighter, you could do maybe 22 centimeters. And again, that's all described in the pattern, so that's completely doable. If you wanted this a little bit looser, now I don't like them looser, but again, it's preference. It depends what you prefer to wear. I possibly would do this a little bit tighter, but you then have to worry about it getting over your head, so I probably wouldn't do it any less than 22 inches, sorry. The back neck seam, so again, this bit here is 8.5, 9 inches. Again, you can play with that depending on your row gauge and everything else, but 8.5, 9 inches, which is about 22 centimeters. And then the depth at the front on this one, so right down to the tip, is 23 inches. So that's the DK version. As I say, you need about 160 grams to be comfortable to test this. You can do it in as many colours as you want. I have striped this one. You could just do a solid break from one colour to the next. You could do it all in one colour. But about 160 grams to be comfortable for that one. I have started the 4-ply one in this. Now, I haven't finished it, but I have done enough to work out the numbers, I think. But if you are applying to test and you're a first-time tester, my recommendation would be to go with the Shawl. Or if you're confident in your knitting and you're confident in reading patterns, choose whatever one you prefer. So this is... Now, this won't show particularly well until I get this blocked. So this one, I should have said, actually, the DK version I did in 4mm. The 4-ply version I am doing in a 3.25. So this is, how can I show this? So you start here and you're knitting that way. So this is the back neck. That's one side of it complete, is the bit that will come down the front of me. And this I-cord edge is the bit that will go round my neck. And then I will have an I-cord cast off as well. Well, I'll have to do the decreases for the other back neck and then an I-cord cast off. So, as I say, that is it at the minute. For this one, I am using Woolly Knit, British wool, 100% British wool, 4-ply. So theirs is about 470 meters to 100 grams. This is the pea green colourway. I've just realised that there's a bit of a shadow. But that's the pea green colourway. And this blocks beautifully. So once I block this, you will see it a lot better. But it is exactly the same stitch pattern. Same back and front. I-cord edging. Same as this one here. So again, for the test knit, you're choosing either DK or 4-ply. I haven't, there was 100 grams in this. I'd skimmed off 100 grams. I'm thinking it's going to be enough, but it might not be. So in whatever you're choosing, if you're going to test knit this version, even if it was the likes of a Drops Flora, that you have 3 balls of it rather than 2 would just give enough just in case. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure on the meterage just yet. I probably could have worked it out, but that was just too much maths last night to go that far. So again, the neck circumference on this will be the same, about 24 inches, 60 centimeters. The back depth of the neck is 8.5 on this one, so 8.5, 9. and I'm not quite sure on the depth of the front. It will be a little bit shorter, I imagine, so probably about 20 to 21 inches on that front depth. So yeah, I love the colour of that actually and how that's coming up. It's really, really lovely. But as you'll see, if I hold that a little bit better, the stitch definition is nowhere near as good as once it's blocked. But it is exactly the same pattern. So I wonder, can I hold without knocking everything down? Exactly the same pattern, but definitely the woolly knit before it's blocked, it looks a little random. Anyway, so Shawl DK4 ply, the Coilette DK4 ply, and then, as I said, I couldn't resist but try the socks. So I had, again, woolly knit. Now, I'm not sure on this yarn. I absolutely love the colour of it. Is the woolly knit cone, their sock yarn. That's not even coming up exactly the way I'd like it to. But this is the sock. So I'm almost finished. I have enough done that I can finish off the pattern. I have knit a shorty, as you will see. Where is that light? I have knit a shorty. You can easily just increase the length of the leg. There's nothing fancy going on here except for knitting the pattern in the round, so you could do the full leg length on this one. As I've said before, I love shorties. It's a heel, flap and gusset heel, and a normal standard toe. I have done a twisted rib cuff, but again, you could do a 1x1 or a 2x2. Yeah, you could. So that's not going to matter. So yeah, the sock, I'm really interested. This feels a little cord-like, if that makes sense. In terms of the yarn and the texture of it. So I'm really interested to see what way this blocks. So I'll keep you up to date. However, as I say, I'm nearly finished this sock. I only have a UK 5 foot. So I'm not too far from finishing this foot or this sock. But yeah, I have the pattern almost finished. So by the time the application goes out and everybody applies and I pick people, the pattern will be finished. So shawl, Coilette, sock. You can take your pick of the one that you would prefer to knit and test knit for me, and I will then email you by Friday of this week. So by the 13th, Friday the 13th, and we will start the test knit on Saturday. It runs for 4 weeks. If we need longer, then that's okay. I've just set 4 weeks to begin with, because definitely the DK version, I knit each of mine in a couple of evenings, and I don't knit quickly. Well, maybe 3 evenings. And I don't knit quickly. I do knit particularly normal, slow. So the socks, again, 4 or 5 days, working sort of an hour at a time, I can have 1 sock finished in a week. So I've put 4 weeks on the test, but do keep me up to date. The other thing I'm really interested in is if you like a group chat, and if you do, what do you prefer it on? Because every test knit I've done recently, I've been on something different. So typically we use Instagram, but I have also put on there if you prefer Slack or Discord. I don't mind either way, but I'd like a bit more on what you prefer. Also, if you don't like being part of group chats, that's okay too, because I also appreciate that constant messages coming through can get a little overwhelming. and you feel like you're not keeping up to date. So if somebody chooses to just email me corrections, perfectly fine as well. So I'd just be interested to know, do you want to be part of a group chat? What platform do you want it on? And yeah, let's see where that goes. So that's the testnet. And as I said, I will have the link below, and I'll put it on my Instagram to complete the form, and I'll be in touch by Friday. So that's, oh, do you know what I didn't say? I named this the Kinbean Shawl Coil Sock Set. During the Easter break, I had shown you that we did a little bit of tour of the north coast of Northern Ireland, and we stopped at Kinbean Castle. And this stitch, the more I looked at it, also reminded me of the multitude of steps that take you down to Kinbean Castle, which was lovely going down. Coming back up was a little bit of a trek, but it's absolutely stunning. You're right out on the coastline, and I've put a couple of pictures into the pattern itself. So yeah, the Kinbean shawl, Kinbean coilette, and Kinbean socks after that little trip at Easter. Finished objects, and you'll be glad to know there's now only one. So I showed you the Kinbean 4-ply shawl that I finished. The other thing that I had done was to give in here a little bit of a tidy, because I realised that I had many projects that were languishing, not getting attention, and I wanted to try and finish some of them off. So one of the quick ones was my hot water bottle cover. So I had started this as a Christmas present, as an extra Christmas present, which I didn't need, and I had got right up to here, so I just needed to finish this bit. So I finished this a night during the week. I have used the colourwork charts from Pacific Knit Co, Jamie Lomax, and this one I think was the Valentine's, almost sure. So this is a colourwork chart with 3 different colours of heart, the cups with the hearts in them and a little heart coming out, and then a different variation of a heart at the top. My daughter had picked all of these colours at the time, and this is all in acrylic yarn. So it was all done with Stylecraft DK. Yep, Stylecraft DK. So what I have realised is I've got really bad, there is definitely a shadow at that side. I have realised that I have got really bad at updating Ravelry, so I now need to take photos of these and update Ravelry. The pattern for this, I now just wing it, so apologies, but I don't have an actual pattern. Because the hot water bottles, I realised I'd followed a couple of patterns, and I realised the hot water bottles are now all different shapes and sizes. So I've just started to measure. Obviously with this one I needed to cast on a multiple according to Jamie's charts. So in her charts she has a standard stitch width for her repeats. So I did that, and I did a multiply of that, but then I measured and just made sure that this fit. This one is a little bit loose for this hot water bottle, so I might try and find a slightly bigger hot water bottle. But yeah, that's that one finished. And I do really like it. It's really lovely. And the colours, the reds and the pinks are really nice. Not typically a colour I would put together, or 2 colours I would put together, but then again, you have seen my pink and orange shawl. But I really enjoyed doing this, and it does give a really nice present along with the hot water bottle. I had used those as teachers' gifts actually at Christmas, and they were really, really nice. So that's my only other finished object. The rest are WiPs, but I will warn you now. A few podcasts ago, I was struggling to finish. I was struggling to even get started. There was many of my works in progress that were frogged. That isn't the case this time. I have quite a few WiPs. So, where will I start? In the last podcast, I had said I really wanted, I'd got a fade from Pixie Yarn at Big Flock, and I wanted to do the Summer Sorrel by Wool & Pine. I wasn't sure which way I was going to fade. Was I going to fade from light to dark or dark to light? So I made a decision to go light to dark and just started. So there's what I have so far. So I have just started into the second colour. I think I have about 6 or 7 rows. You can see just peeping in there. Okay, so the ball just went for a little trip across the floor. This is the lightest one. And then the one that I'm putting in now is this. So this was from her monthly club. And this was the 6 skeins within that club. I can't remember the name of the club. The cast on for this Summer Sorrel was lovely. It's an I-cord cast on, which did take a little bit of time and a little bit of patience, but was so worth it. And I think it's going to be beautiful. I hope it's not too wide. I'm not sure if you can see that because I can't see the camera. I'm not sure if it's going to be too wide when I try it on, but I'll be able to try it on shortly. Again, the pattern recommends that you try on once you get to the end of chart 2, which I'm just about to do. So I will try it on and see just what that neckline is like. Now, I've said before, I don't mind I prefer a wider neckline. But I am loving this pattern. I think because you're changing colour and you want to see what that looks like, it keeps you going. But I'm really enjoying this. So that's the Summer Sorrel by Wool & Pine. I'm knitting this on 3.5. I'm not sure what the recommended needles are, but I got gauge on 3.5mm needles on 4-ply. I'm not holding it double. It is held single. And they're the first 2 colours of it. And it is the Pixie Yarn fade. So absolutely loving that. But I did set it down because I was getting a little bit carried away. And I wanted my conveying stuff to a point where I could finish the pattern off. So I had been working on that. And then I had seen that Tori Yu of Tori Knits NYC had a pattern sale, and I have been looking at one of her t-shirts for a long time. I've also been looking at the Downtown hoodie. Yeah, the Downtown hoodie, which I would love to try, but the Uptown Tee was what I settled on. So the Uptown Tee, I'll put a picture up. The Uptown Tee has lace work on the sleeves. The rest of it is plain, but again, I had to start it. So my Dromore shawl from Brenda Brayfield, I had done in this yarn, which is a molten yarn. It's one of their oddball colorways, I think, and I had got 3 skeins. So I've decided to use it for this. I need 2, and I had 2. Now again, I don't have a huge amount, but I wanted to see. That's the lace work on the sleeve. And then, as I say, the rest of it is plain stockinette. Again, I'm on a 3.5 with this to get the gauge, and I'm loving it. It's really nice. It's raglan, so you have your raglan increases at the side of the sleeve, this lovely open weave, or open lace, and then the rest of it. So I need to continue down on the raglan increases on that one. The neckline is, again, I don't think I have to go back in and, where do we see? No, that's the neckline. So again, you cast on and you end up with a little bit of a roll, but it ends up with a lovely summer feel. I'll put a picture up, I'll put it back in again. so that you can see that, but I'll not have to go back in and pick that up. Again, I think when I get to the point of splitting for sleeves, I will try it on just to see that the neckline isn't too wide. Now, in the photos, it doesn't look wide, so hopefully that will be the case. But yeah, I couldn't resist, so I cast that on as well. 2 purple t-shirts. But I think at the time, actually, here in Northern Ireland, the weather was lovely, and since I've cast it on, it has done nothing but rained. So we will see. Now, again, as I've said, I still have my Knit Pearl Girl sweater cast on as well, the loose sweater, and I haven't done any more to it. So there's a lot of WiPs, as you will now be gathering. Okay, so what else have I picked anything else up? I've done a little bit more, and that will lead me in nicely to the winners of the gift away in the last podcast. I have done a few more repeats on my Rostrevor. So I've shown you this before. This is and it's been shoved in a bag. This is the Rostrevor Shawl by Brenda Brayfield. Brenda had kindly got in contact with me, offering 3 viewers a free copy of the Rostrevor Shawl. And what I had asked for was that you commented Rostrevor and tell me the yarn that you're using. There was quite a lot of green, actually. And quite a few people came up with neutrals, and I would love a neutral. I would really, really like a neutral. It's one of the colours that I typically don't have in my wardrobe. And there are times when I go in just looking that beige shawl or cream or that sort of colour, and I don't have it. So I even think the Dremore would be really nice in that. So I will choose. But let's go to the winners of the Rostrevor. I will continue to knit because, as I said before, I'm enjoying this, and I can take it in the car, or if I'm waiting on my daughter coming out of some of her after school activities. So again, I will put all of the names up on screen. So Rachel Williams 4501, well done. AJ Borthwick 7239, congratulations. And Teresa Knitting Dancer 9052, well done. So the 3 of you, if you get in touch with me, my email will be below. If you sent me your Ravelry details, hopefully you do have a Ravelry account, and I will pass those details on to Brenda. So just again, let me know that you're okay with that. I'll pass your details, your Ravelry details, on to Brenda, and she will send you that pattern. Now, Brenda has also very kindly offered everyone on the podcast 50% off the Rostrevor Shawl. So if you didn't win and you're a little bit disappointed, then you have 50% off from today until the 16th of June. So just about a week. I'll put the code, it's Angela. The code will be on screen, and the link to the Rostrevor will be below. So you can go and get 50% off that. Now, I am in the UK, and at the minute for me, that shawl on Ravelry is £4.52. So you would be getting that shawl for £2.26. That is an absolute steal, and it is beautiful. Absolutely, I cannot. Brenda's patterns, they're so nicely written. Your hand is held throughout. Without having to wade through lots and lots of text. They're beautifully presented, and as I say, this is absolutely stunning. The Dremore was as well, but the promotion is on the Rostrevor. So 50% off until the 16th of June. Use the code. The link to the shawl is below, and well done to those 3 winners. So I should say, actually, I have been doing mine in Drops Flora. I've covered it in the previous podcast, but just in case that you haven't watched, The drops flora is 65% wool, 35% alpaca, and there's 210 meters, 230 yards to 50 grams. I had 2 and a bit balls left, so I am doing the Rostrevor as long as I can with the yarn that I have. And again, Brenda makes that quite easy to do with the instructions in the pattern. So as I say, I have, when I've been out and about, I've been taking that one with me and working on that one. The other project that I have been working on, there's 2 more projects that I have been working on. One is the other, so I think I'd shown you that I had finished one of my socks. I have cast on the other one. I have just started the gusset decreases, and again, that's a handy project to just lift in the car and work on. So I'll finish those this week. And then I had been watching Nancy Wheeler of Knit Zip Happy, and she had been talking about her toe up socks. And she said, I challenge you to try a toe up pattern. Now, I have done a toe up pattern in the past, but I thought, okay, you've challenged me. And if anyone knows me, where knitting is concerned, that's something that I will jump at. Also, I like the heel structure on this. It did look very much like a heel flap and gusset, but toe up, which I haven't tried before. And again, I will jump at the chance to try something like that. So the Dune grass socks were the ones that I had picked from Nancy Wheeler. I decided to use the rest of my blue fern yarns that I had used in my Ballyhome coil by Tucker of Woolen Knots. So as I'd said before, I have it sitting here too. I had used it with the Drops Kid Silk in the Heather colourway. But when you see it knit up by itself, it's beautiful. Now, I have paired it with a Drops Fable. I think again that's apple green. And I have the toe up started, and I have the beginning of the pattern. So I think that's 2 repeats, 1 repeat of the 2 repeats of the pattern. And I'm enjoying it. I liked the toe up construction. I used the Turkish cast on for this one. So I know in the past I have used the Judy's Magic cast on. I should have remembered that. Anyway, I used the Turkish one this time, and I really enjoyed it because you just wind. You don't have to do anything other than wind your yarn the number of times around the needles. And it turned out really nice. I really liked it. I've seen it before, the Turkish cast on, but it was suggested to either use Judy's Magic cast on or the Turkish cast on. So I thought, well, I'll use something different again. And I did, and I liked it. So I'll try to remember to leave a link below, but on YouTube, if you type in Turkish cast on knitting, there's a couple that pop up. So again, for me, it depends on the voice, whether I can listen to it or not. Sometimes you just need to watch, mind you. But I really liked that cast on. So that's the toe. It was more of the rounded toe, which again, I'd said the last time that I wasn't overly sure that I would do it in a cuff down sock, that I felt in terms of the fit, the standard toe was okay, and it was already in my brain. But where this is concerned, because it was toe up and I was kind of having to concentrate anyway, I quite enjoyed something a little bit different. So I will keep you up to date with that one. There's absolutely no rush on these. But they're the Dune Grass Sock by Nancy Wheeler of Knit Zip Happy. And I'm using Drops Fable and my Blue Fern yarns. I will probably, these socks are again a longer leg. I will probably do these as a much shorter sock, just because I prefer wearing them. But that was the other thing that I had cast. 2 more things I want to go through. One is my sock blockers, and the second one is Aquisitions. So I'll do Aquisitions first. This is something that I had completely forgot to show you. I had signed up to the Beehive Yarns monthly club, and I have signed up. I signed up to the Giddy Aunt yarn whenever it was Giddy Aunt yarn, and I loved getting it every month. I got the mini club with them at the time. I have looked at Pixie Yarns for a while. I have looked at Beehive Yarns. I have looked at many others. And in January, I'm not going to do it. I'm definitely not in January. And then as soon as these have arrived, I have completely regretted my choice, because I now don't have January and February, and these are beautiful. So anyway, I am hoping that she brings out the option to purchase, but maybe not, and that's okay too. So I have got these over the last 3 months. So I have March, April and May. If you haven't seen May, you may not want to continue watching this. So this is the Beehive Yarns. What date are we on now? It's the 10th of June, 9th of June. So hopefully everyone has received theirs. But this one is the March one. So I ordered the Audrey Classic Sock in the 50 grams, which is 212 meters per 50 grams, 231 yards. It is 75% superwash merino and 25% nylon, but these colours are gorgeous. So that's the Beehive Yarn Season Spell. Then in April, these were the colours. And I just think they follow on so beautifully. So that is April's. Again, exactly the same. I ordered 2 50-gram skeins. Superwash merino nylon, the Audrey Sock Classic. And then this month's is the 2 blue. So again, Audrey Classic Sock, but the colours are beautiful. So there, March, April and May. She sends you a wee card, and I couldn't find it before I started the podcast. There's a wee card and it gives you the 3 months. So that one I had got the end of January, February, March, then April, May and June. So I kind of have an idea of where the colours are going in the next one. But I'm going to continue to get these. And what I'm thinking is another summer sorrel, or doing the light bright in the 4-ply version. But I will see. Aren't they beautiful? Really liking those, and they're lovely coming in. The other thing that I did sign up for, and this was all again because of Big Flock, the Wool Kitchen had put up that they're having, now it runs from June to October, I think, October, November. And again, you could pick your weight of yarn and different bits and pieces. But she had said, Helen of Wool Kitchen had said that she's thinking of the light bright for the fade. So she's going to, the fade will be such that it'll work for a pattern like that. So I ordered it as well. So it will be coming at the end of June, the first one. But again, paying monthly, it kind of feels like that's my treat to myself. So I had forgotten to show you those acquisitions. I'll try to remember to keep up with them from this point on. Okay, so my sock blockers. So on Ravelry, I have had my standard sock blocker for a while. You can choose, there's 6 different toe sizes. They run from 35 to 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, and so on. And they clip in and out to give you adjustable sock blocker. These ones will do up to about a 10 centimetre 4.5 inch leg, which is absolutely fine for me because I like shorter socks. But a lot of people had said they really like this design, but they would like it in a longer leg. A couple of other people had commented that if they're doing a 72 stitch sock, that it's not wide enough. So that bit hasn't been solved yet because I'm going to have so many different combinations of this particular sock blocker. However, my husband has designed a longer one. So this is the longer one. At the minute it looks exactly the same, but there is, this works the same. So you have your 6 sizes in your toe. Again, I have the same one because that's the one that works for me. The extension that is on it at the minute, so it's just a small extension to finish off the top of the blocker, and that makes it just a tiny bit longer than the original. So the original is at the front and it's a tiny bit longer. Then what we now have is the extension. So we now have a sock which right to the end, and I'm taking it from just above. I'll do it from this side, actually might be a bit easier. From about there is 23 centimeters. I now need to convert that, which is about 9 inches of length. So it does give you a good bit more. This bit gives you an extra 6 inches, so about 15 centimeters of length to the sock blocker. So they pop in and out. You have that bit to finish it off. Again, I think this means that you can have them with you in your project bag because they go down quite small. They're not in the really tiny project bags. Do I have one here? So this is my smaller project bag. Still does poke out the top a little bit, so the bag would need to be a little bit bigger to hold that part of it, but all the rest of the bits are fitting in here, no problem. So I will have those on YouTube. I will have them on Etsy by Friday, Friday the 13th. I still need to take a few photos of these and get them online, but that's the longer one. The other thing that I will do is that if you have already bought it, then I will try to send you an email if Etsy allows me to see your contact details, so that I can send you a discount code if you prefer the longer one. I should also say that I had been posting to America and Canada, but at the minute that is turned off. The postage, I was posting them first class, international, but it was taking 3 or 4 weeks, and a couple of people had got in contact with me just to sort of say, where is it? I'm not overly happy. Once it leaves me, I have no control over how quickly it gets out of this country and into another country. But I just sort of thought that's not fair. If you're spending your money and expecting something to be delivered, then I would prefer that the system was a little bit quicker. Now, I also appreciate there has been postal strikes. I think there's been postal strikes in Canada. I could be wrong. But I'd certainly picked that up from another podcast that I was watching. And that could have been part of the problem, and it might not have been any part of the problem. But at the minute, Canada and America have been turned off in terms of postage. So get in touch if the longer one is something that you're looking for and you live in America or Canada. If you're the UK and Europe, it should be perfectly fine. Everything will post to UK and Europe. So that's that. The other thing that I am going to be putting up, in this bag I have 3 socks and my sock ruler, and they all fit, and one of those socks is in 2 different colours. So this is the sock ruler that I had talked about before. You can see, I think, all of the different sizes. I have tested this out with a number of different size socks and it works perfectly. It disconnects in half so that you can pop it in your bag, and there will be this blue, the pink and the purple as your choices of colour. The same with the sock blockers, so the blue, the purple and the pink. I don't have a pink here at the minute, but it'll all be on Etsy and I'll post on Instagram whenever that has gone live. I just need to get a few of the final photos and get the listings set up, and I will put those on. So sock ruler, right, let me try and show you. No, I'm going to have to take this. This is where I lose stitches. So if you have your sock, this one is done cuff down. I push the end of it into the heel and then I can measure down. So that one is currently 12 centimeters. I'll need that about 17, but so I can measure that way. You do tend to lose stitches using them, but no sock blocker or no sock ruler that I have used have I not lost stitches. I do try to use the wee stitch markers or the needle stoppers, but I find that they pop off as well. So then obviously the same thing. If you have a toe up sock, you can pop, I'm trying not to take my, oh, I've just taken it off. You can pop it in and again measure toe up really nicely too until you're at the stage where you need to put in the heel. And no, I'm not, that's only about 9 inches on that one. That's not inches, 9 centimeters. Okay, so they're the sock rulers. I find them really, really useful because the other sock rulers that I had meant that I couldn't put them into my bag because they were too long. So being able to break them apart and slip them into the bag is really, really useful. So I will put those up by Friday. Sock rulers, the longer leg sock blocker, and yeah, that's those covered. So my intention is to finish the Kinbean Carlette in the 4-ply, finish the socks. I am also in the background, I had shown you the last time my Lady Violet, the short sleeved. I will now go back to it now that I have the Kinbean shawl and Carlette almost finished. But I'd put it to the side just while I was finishing those off. So I will aim to get that finished as well. So I think they're my plans over the next 2 weeks. I will be back in 2 weeks' time. I have holidays booked, but it shouldn't really affect the podcast the way that I've counted things out. Not that I booked a holiday around the podcast, but just that I'm not away for a long period of time over the summer. So I will continue, I think, running with the podcast and showing you what I'm knitting. Because Northern Ireland doesn't get very warm, I find that I do continue to knit. I might knit smaller items, but I do continue to knit over the summer. And if I'm traveling, I always have something in my bag for that travel day and traveling home, and if we have a quieter day on holiday. So they're my intentions. And let's see what happens. Who knows? I could come back with the next podcast and something totally different cast on again. That's just the way this podcast rolls. So hopefully you will apply for the test knit. The link is below in the description box and also on my Instagram. The 3 winners of the Rostrevor shawl, again, I'll put your names down below. Yeah, I'll put your name, I'll not link, but I will put your name down below. And if you get in contact with me, my email is there as well. So if you get in contact with me I will pass your Ravelry name on to Brenda and you will get that pattern into your Ravelry store. And as I say, you have 50% off the Rostrevor shawl until the 16th of June. Okay, so thank you, Brenda, so much for that for my viewers. You will need the code Angela on Ravelry for buying that shawl pattern. So I think that's everything. Thank you for following along as always. Any comments, I love to read them down in the comments box below. And I do try to get back to everyone. So thank you so much for continuing to engage with this podcast. I hope you're enjoying whatever you're working on. I look forward to talking to you the next time. Bye.